One of the smallest questions in life that probably no one ever asked is, what is the cardiovascular system and how does it work? Well, the cardiovascular system, also known as the circulatory system, is a complex network of blood vessels and the heart that work together to distribute oxygen, nutrients, and hormones throughout the body.
The main components of the cardiovascular system are the heart, blood vessels, artery, veins, and capillaries, and blood. Overall, the cardiovascular system is essential for maintaining the health and function of the body.
It plays a crucial role in delivering oxygen and nutrients to the tissues and extracting waste products. This system is crucial for the body to maintain itself and other systems and to make sure the body doesn't run out of oxygen.
Because the cardiovascular system is so big and very important, there are a lot of tiny parts that somehow work together to ensure that we don't die. However, there are certain distinctions between different animals and their circulatory systems.
For example, some animals have a circulatory system consisting of a heart, a circulatory fluid, and tubes to carry it, known as a closed circulatory system. However, in other animals, they have an open circulatory system.
The only difference between the two is that in an open circulatory system, the fluid flows directly into the tissue. As mentioned before, one of the primary components of the circulatory system is the heart. The heart is the main muscle in the circulatory system.
Think of it as a train station, where all the trains come and go carrying oxygen-rich and poor blood. A common misconception is that arteries always carry oxygen-rich blood, which is not true as shown by the diagram. To start, pulmonary arteries going towards the lung carry oxygen-poor
The process of
blood.
retrieving oxygen-rich blood is part of the respiratory system, so that when air is inhaled, oxygen in the blood attaches to hemoglobin in the blood. Then the pulmonary vein carries oxygen-rich blood back to the heart. The heart then pumps it out into arteries. After the oxygen-rich blood delivers its oxygen to cells, it becomes oxygen-poor blood.
After that, it returns to the heart via either the inferior vena cava or superior vena cava. The inferior vena cava is for blood coming from the abdominal region and legs, whilst the superior vena cava carries it to the head, chest, and arms. The main component of the circulatory system is the heart, where it controls the flow of blood by contracting and relaxing at a steady rate.
The ventricles are the lower chambers that pump blood out of the heart towards the lungs and body. The atriums take the blood that is coming towards the heart and pump it into the ventricles, an effort that does not require much force. This is known as the cardiac cycle, where the heart contracts and relaxes in a rhythmic sequence. When it squeezes, blood is pumped out of the heart, and when it relaxes, blood fills its chambers.
The first phase is called diastole, where the heart is relaxed and blood goes into all four chambers of the heart. The second phase is systole, where the heart contracts and pumps blood. First, the arteries squeeze to put blood into the ventricles, and then the ventricles squeeze to pump blood.
When the ventricles contract, the semilunar valves open in order to make sure that blood only flows in one direction. Every human has something known as the sinoarterial node, which sets the speed at which the muscles of your heart contract. Sometimes in very old people, there will be an artificial pacemaker. This is because their sinoarterial node sends signals that are too slow or too
The heart
fast.
can't pump blood normally, which is why they need artificial pacemakers to ensure that their heart beats normally at a healthy pace. Oftentimes, people overdose on drugs, so the heartbeat starts to increase and become problematic. Drugs like fentanyl, heroin, morphine, codeine, and other opiates affect it. Don't do drugs, kids. This can often lead to a heart attack where the sinusoid node can't maintain the normal rhythm.
So then medics have to get automatic external defibrillators to shock the heart back into the normal rhythms. This normally happens under a process called cardiac arrest, where victims will fall to the ground unconscious.
This is bad, so if you think this happens, get an AED and start doing chest compressions and rescue breaths. If you keep taking Monster Energy, you're gonna develop heart disease or at least several heart complications, which don't sound fun.
One of the major components of the cardiovascular system is blood. Now, you may be thinking, well, if it's so important, why didn't you just mention it earlier? We forgot to put it in the script. So here's an overview of blood and what it does.
The journey starts with the red blood cell being created inside the bone. In the bone marrow, it develops in several stages, starting as a hemocytoblast and becoming an erythroblast after 2 to 5 days of development. After filling with hemoglobin, it becomes a reticulocyte, which then becomes a fully matured red blood cell.
This will be of a specific blood type determined by the presence or absence of certain antibodies. After creation, the red blood cell starts traveling to the heart via capillaries. The blood cell is currently deoxygenated. First, the blood enters the right atrium. Next, it passes through a valve which prevents it from flowing backwards. Then, the blood travels into the right ventricle. After that, the blood goes through the pulmonary artery into the lungs where it gets oxygenated.
Soon, the oxygenated blood goes into the pulmonary vein, into the left atrium, enters another valve, and goes into the left ventricle. Not long, it reaches the aorta, where it gets distributed all throughout your body. Here's what your entire circulatory system looks like. But how does the oxygen in the blood leave the cell? Well, there are a lot of blood vessels in the body known as capillaries, which consist of a single layer of epithelial cells.
This allows for diffusion of oxygen and other nutrients, as well as carbon dioxide and waste from cells to leave the cell. In fact, they are small that they can only allow for red blood cells to go in a single file line through them. Doctors often use different measurements to see the arrangement of blood vessels. One of these is blood pressure, or the force that blood exerts against the walls of blood vessels.
Blood pressure in the arteries depend on the volume of blood pumped into the aorta and the restriction of blood flow into the arterioles. Another is blood velocity, which is literally the speed at which the blood can move. Doctors check blood pressures in order to make sure that they don't have any heart diseases. This is checked to see if you have blood pressure that is abnormally high or low.
Some other cool facts. Your heart pumps 1.5 gallons of blood per minute. In fact, if your blood was made of petroleum or any other kind of oil instead of blood, a lot of countries, and I mean a lot of countries, would be after you.
There are 60,000 miles of blood vessels in your body. For reference, let's say we are driving a Honda Civic with a fuel efficiency of 30 miles per gallon. This means that we use 2,000 gallons of gas. Since California has very expensive gas prices, it means that gas will cost us $11,560. That's a lot of money. Did you also know that the human heart produces 2 watts of power? For reference, that means it takes 400 human hearts to power a toaster.
The human heart uses energy each time it needs to beat. It's common sense. The amount of energy it uses is approximately 6/10 joules of energy. Did you know that a megaton of TNT generates approximately 4,184,000,000,000,000 joules of energy? Did you know that the world's largest nuclear weapon, the Tsar Bomba, produces 50 megatons of TNT equivalent? This means that the world's largest nuclear bomb generates 209,200,000,000,000,000 joules of force. This means that the Tsar Bomba can make a human heart beat 3,486,666,666 big number. Here's a quick recap of what we learned. We learned that the cardiovascular system uses the heart, blood vessels such as arteries, veins, and capillaries, and blood. Overall, the cardiovascular system is essential for maintaining the health and functioning of the human body and plays a crucial role in delivering oxygen and nutrients to the tissues and extracting waste products. It is essential for maintaining itself and other systems in the human body to make sure that it doesn't run out of oxygen and it continues to stay alive.